Hey, you guys, thanks for listening in to this episode of Tips with T. On today, I have Mr. Jim with us. How are you doing today, Mr. Jim?
I am fine.
Awesome. So good to have you on the show today. So tell us more about yourself and what you do.
I am Mr. Jim Johnson from Detroit, Michigan. Originally, I now live in Texas and have for 40 years. I'm a pizza man and I prepare the dazzling presentation for all my customers. And I have been doing so for 45 years. Um, I started Mr. Jim's with one store in one place in a little town in Michigan, Westland, Michigan. And I grew it to now we have 51 locations in 6 different states. And we are doing really well right now. And it's a very exciting time in the pizza. We do carry out and delivery.
Awesome.
So that's our clientele.
So, Mr. Jim, how are you able to grow your business to have now 51 stores?
Well, it's a lot of things combined.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think the most important thing that I do is sticking to it,
Mm-hmm.
is committed to that and moving forward no matter kind of what happens. There are several times where things have more or less collapsed. And because I have an understanding of how organizations work and the technology of how people communicate and stuff, I'm able to just keep on pushing through those barriers. Um, Recently, with this COVID thing, it's really been a help to us because the government pretty much said, don't go to a restaurant and have it delivered, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So and I was there for that. We'd been we'd been pushing and working on our internet connectivity
Mm-hmm.
for 14 years prior to this point. And so when the government said do it, it was like they pushed a button and people started coming to our website more and more. In fact, it almost seemed like the people would go online instead of calling us because they thought somehow they'd get it through the phone. I'm sure that's not true, but there was that kind of a bump in our business.
Uh-huh. Awesome. So, did you had to put any type of um new strategies or anything in place due to COVID, or you kind of was already prepared when COVID?
Well, the main thing that we had prepared was this online presence, and we were already established online and we were already there online. That was the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
But because of COVID, we had to convince our customers that we were safe because it became, if you weren't wearing a mask, you were almost uh, affronting them with murder. I mean, it's like you could kill me with this disease.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to retrain our staff to make sure they were wearing masks and make sure they were sanitizing more. And then we had to develop strategies on contactless delivery
Mm-hmm.
and contactless pickup where we could bring the pizza out to the cars for them. And we had to integrate that into our systems. And luckily, we have a lot of tools to help us integrate training procedures in. And of course, then we marketed that we were doing this for customers. We had TV commercials where the pizzas were brought to their car and stuff like that.
Awesome, awesome. So, what type of administrative technology helped you during this time with your business?
Well, I use the Hubbard administrative technology developed by L. Ron Hubbard.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many aspects to it. A few of the key points are communication skills, like the actual technology of you say something and you get that guy to understand it, and you keep saying it till he does understand it, and if he strays off the conversation, you guide it back, and those kind of technology skills, which are actually technical, you can learn drills and stuff to do it, is real helpful in any business at all or any life, but especially in business. And there's a lot of other tools that you can use. A key thing that we do that a lot of businesses don't is we track statistics. We track the number of everything.
Mm-hmm.
I have like a dozen main statistics that I track on 50 stores on a weekly basis.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put them on graphs. So that's 600 graphs on a weekly basis. I don't look at each one every week,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll see something going on at a store and I can look at the graph and go, hey, what happened back here? What did you change here?
Mm-hmm.
We always have the attitude that we're responsible for the environment we're in.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to say, well, COVID hit, and so I'm out of business.
Mhm.
Or the economy's bad, and so I'm out of business. In 75, when I first opened, unemployment in Detroit, Michigan was 29%
Mhm.
where I opened my first store. And it
Mhm.
would have been easy to say, because I was doing low volume, nobody knew who I was. It would have been easy to give up and say, well, the economy's bad right now.
Mhm.
But I didn't. I kept at it. One of the other um, technologies I use is when you're paying bills, there's a way to pay them so that you keep your credit good,
Mhm.
even when maybe you don't have enough money to pay them all. And so I used that very much when I first started, because
Mhm.
I was going like, oh, it should cost me this much to open, and it cost me this much. And and then I thought I'd have this much coming in, and I had this much coming in.
Mhm.
So I had to like scramble all the time, and I was very upfront with my creditors. Hey, I said I'd pay you Tuesday. Well, I'm not going to be there Tuesday, but by Thursday I should be there. I'd be really communicative with my creditors and stuff like that, and I was able to go through a slow time in business that some people may have declared bankruptcy, but
Mhm.
because I had tools and systems for payments and how to manage them, I was able to keep this thing going. And another thing, I guess I don't want to get off into too many different things that are technical,
Mhm.
but there's a vast a vast number of things that you can use
Mhm.
that give you control in your business, that let you see what the big picture is and what exactly you should do at that moment to increase the sales, have more people, whatever it is that you're kind of trying to sell or do or in life.
Awesome. And I think didn't you had told me before that you built your own website when it comes to
Oh
your
yeah.
business. So
Um,
tell us more about that and how you feel like it's better to build your own website instead of going through a third party.
well, I'm not sure that I advise anybody else to do it, but I for many years I started learning how to use computers, and I used spreadsheets, and then I got into databases, and I was using databases. Well, then the web came, and I started building a website. I hired someone to build my first website, and at that time he charged me $600 for 2 pages
Mhm.
of text,
Mhm.
and I went like, that's not real good.
Mhm.
So I started learning HTML code, and I made a little website myself with some images and stuff. And then as we grew, I kept learning more and more and more. And then in 2006, Pizza Hut started delivering. There was such a thing as online ordering, and I thought, someday the internet's going to get fast, and we ought to have our foot in the door there. It
Mhm.
wasn't like I thought this is really going to be a big thing, but I knew that it would be something, and I never realized how far it would go. But at that point, I found a guy who had a website that I could work directly with him. And eventually I hired him to come in. And so the whole thing was built kind of along my lines of why I wanted. And then we have a point of sale system that goes into the same website. So there's customers online ordering and my employees clocking in and ordering pizzas all in the same web presence.
Mhm.
And then this guy built this huge system that was doing thousands of dollars in sales every day. And of course, he got a better job
Mhm.
because this was a huge, complex thing. And so I had to jump in and learn a lot higher technical skills. So now I know how to use these computer database services that like Microsoft's computer database service. I know how to use this programming language that helps you to get the data from the website, the database to the web page so that I can make one page of code. And if a different customer goes to it, it looks different depending on which customer is there or what store he's at or all this stuff. So I'm heavily into computer coding.
Mhm.
And that's another aspect of the administrative technology that I was able to take advantage of because there's a way to study. There's an actual technology on how to learn things. And here I am, a 70-year-old man who is programming websites in my spare time, and that's a big shift for someone in my age group.
Mhm. Well, that big shift seems to have worked for you, and you've been very successful with your business.
Yeah, we are doing incredibly well right now, and it's in no small part due to our online presence. And of course, because I know that you can't just stay where you are, I'm looking at all my statistics, and that's another thing we did through this COVID thing. We'd look at all the numbers coming in, and oh, let's put this word in our Google ads. Let's put that word in our Google ad. And then with Google, you not only know how many people went to that ad, I
Mhm,
know how many people bought a pizza and how much they spent.
mhm.
And so I would go, well, that word didn't work as good as this word, and you monitor those things so to make it as best as you possibly can. And it's kind of exciting. I have people that help me with that. I don't do it all myself.
Mhm. Well, that's awesome. So, Mr. Jim, what would you say? What advice would you give someone during this time that's running a business during running a restaurant or a business during COVID-19 that will probably help them to remain in good standing?
Well, they've got to understand that they are in control of their environment and they can do things. They can do, we say in the administrative technology, we say you can do something about it. Something
Mm-hmm,
can be done about it.
mm-hmm,
And so you got to realize that you could do something. I heard this restaurateur in San Francisco. He's famous. I can't think of his name, but everybody's heard of him. Tyler. Anyway, he's a famous chef. He had a really fancy restaurant that was doing almost as much as my whole chain out of this one building.
mm-hmm,
And when COVID hit, it devastated his restaurant business.
mm-hmm,
So he got trucks. He went out there with trucks to customers' homes. He'd call his customers and say, hey, how about if I bring a truck to your house and you get your neighbors over for food? And
mm-hmm,
they did that. And he did all these things that were outreaching. He started grocery, bringing in and selling people their groceries. So like he was able to buy meats and cheeses and stuff cheaper. So he was selling groceries directly to people. He was doing all these things that didn't involve sitting in a restaurant and ordering food. It was like getting it delivered, or he was bringing it to your house, or he was selling groceries and bringing that to your house. So he took what was going on, and instead of just sitting there going, well, that's that,
mm-hmm.
he developed all these things. And that's the thing. It's very important to remember that you're in charge of your own destiny and that you can do something about it. And because uh, I would always suggest people to study more the administrative technology of L. Ron Hubbard, because there's so many tools in there. And it's not a thing where you got to believe it or you listen to what he says and you do it. It's not like that. You read it and you understand it. And if it makes sense to you yourself,
Mm-hmm.
then you go out and do something with it. And then if it works for you, then you keep using it. It's not a belief system or anything like that. It's technology, and you study it and you apply it and it works. And so it's a lot different than most education things. Most education isn't designed for application, um, but this is designed for application. And I don't know if I talked about. I had all these points here written down. I was going to mention. I don't know if I talked about any of them. But anyway,
Well,
was
thank
there any other question?
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Jim, for coming on the show today and telling us about your journey. So I'm going to share your social media handles. Tell our
Okay.
people how they can get in contact with you if they would like.
Okay. Well, you can email me at Mr. Jim at mrjims.pizza. And you can go to our website at mrjims.pizza. In 2014, I changed the whole brand of the company. It used to be Mr. Jim's Pizza, but I saw the internet coming or getting stronger. And so we changed the brand to mrjims.pizza. That's our website and our brand name. If you can see on that box, it does say mrjims.pizza written out. And on my shirt, it says mrjims.pizza written out. That is our web address.
Awesome. Awesome. And very unique. And
Yeah.
if you guys want to get in contact with me, you can do so. My number is 910-317-0396. You can shoot me an email at contact@mjfinancial.biz. visit the website www.mjfinancial.biz, and you guys can find this episode on Anchor, you guys, and you also can find this playback on the YouTube channel as well. So thank you, Mr. Jim, once again for being on the show today. I highly appreciate you. Whenever I
All
come
right.
out to
Thank you for
Detroit,
having me.
whenever I come out to Detroit to visit my uncle, I definitely have to try your pizza.
Okay, I'm in Texas now. I was only
Oh,
in Detroit for a couple of years. So
so
in
you're in.
Texas, we have like 40 locations. We have 3 in Wyoming, 1 in Kenner, Louisiana, 1 in Brooklyn, Arkansas, 1 in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, so I have one. So you have one here in Charlotte. So I definitely can go to Charlotte and check you out.
Oh yeah, it's on West Boulevard.
Oh,
The guy who owns it has owned it for many, many years. His dad actually bought it. His dad's passed away now, but he's a really nice man, Javon Williams. Check
awesome.
him out.
I will make sure to check them out. And all right, you guys, we will see you on the next episode of Tips with T.
Thank you. Hi, T. Thanks for letting me add this. I wanted to let your guys know that they can reach me at Mr. Jim at mrjims.pizza. That's MRJIM at MRJIMS.pizza. Or you can go to mrjims.pizza, my website, or the mrjims.pizza YouTube channel. I do these episodes where I, in person, deliver to a customer's home unbeknownst to them. They're kind of funny. And if you want to see about how I started the business and how I went through some tough times at first, you can watch my webisode at meetascientologist.tv/Mr. Jim. That's meetascientologist.tv/MRJIM. Thanks a lot for letting me add this. Goodbye.